You think you'd notice if someone was manipulating you? That's what everyone thinks. You imagine it would feel obvious, controlling, aggressive, like pressure you couldn't ignore. And because you don't feel that, you assume you're safe. But that certainty, that quiet confidence that you'd know, that is exactly how it starts. Manipulation rarely announces itself. It integrates, it adapts, it feels normal. It begins in conversations that seem reasonable, in questions that sound harmless, in moments where you still believe you're choosing freely. And if you watch closely over the next few minutes, you may recognize something uncomfortable. Not in theory, in your own life. Because by the seventh sign, most people have already adjusted without realizing it. Here are 7 signs you're being manipulated in real time. After this, you won't unsee them. There is a pattern to how control develops without force. It doesn't rely on threats. It relies on cooperation. Slowly, quietly, you begin explaining more than you used to, justifying decisions that never needed justification, rehearsing conversations in your head before they even happen. This pattern has many names, but the mechanism is simple. It makes you volunteer energy. It makes you doubt your perception. It makes you shrink without being told to. Carl Jung described the shadow as the part of you that senses when something is wrong but stays silent to avoid conflict. That is where this operates. In the space between what you feel and what you allow yourself to say. Most people ignore the early signals. By the time they recognize the pattern, they've already adapted. Sign 1. Exhaustion. After certain conversations, you feel drained. Not emotionally moved, not challenged, drained. You walk away feeling like you had to defend simple choices. You answered questions that did not need answers. You explained things that were already clear. They sound curious, reasonable, concerned, but every answer costs you energy. And when the conversation ends, they are steady. You are depleted. This is not connection. This is extraction. Someone is measuring how much you will give without resistance, and every time you comply, the line moves. Most people dismiss this feeling. They tell themselves they're just tired. They're not. Sign 2. Memory shift. You start questioning what actually happened. Not dramatically. Subtly. You remember tension. They remember calm. You remember a comment. They remember a joke. Nothing obvious. Nothing loud. Just enough to create hesitation. Did I misunderstand? Did I overreact? Maybe I'm being difficult. When your memory becomes negotiable, your perception becomes unstable. And when your perception becomes unstable, their version becomes dominant. You won't notice this one immediately. It accumulates. Sign 3. Controlled discomfort. They never forbid anything. They never issue commands. They simply make certain choices feel heavy. You mention someone. There's a pause. A subtle shift, a question that sounds neutral but carries weight. Why do you need them? What do you talk about? Do they know about this? Nothing direct, nothing explicit. But over time, you share less, mention less, reach out less. Not because you were told to, because it feels easier. Isolation rarely arrives as an order. It arrives as atmosphere. By now, most people are already adjusting. Sign 4. Preemptive editing. You start rehearsing before speaking, softening statements before they are challenged, explaining yourself before anyone asks. You anticipate their reaction. You adapt in advance. When someone learns that clarity leads to tension, they choose vagueness. When someone learns that honesty creates distance, they choose silence. You stop trusting your first thought. You trust the safest one. This is where the shift deepens. Because once you doubt your own perception, you stop questioning theirs. The 5th sign is where most people lose ground. Sign 5. Emotional accounting. There is a quiet ledger. Every favor, every compromise, every moment you needed support. It is remembered, referenced, returned. But when you need something, the energy changes. Suddenly, they are overwhelmed, stressed, busy. You end up reassuring them instead. This is not reciprocity. It is imbalance disguised as care. Control often works through obligation, not force. Debt. By this point, many people have already adapted. They explain less, ask for less, expect less. But the next sign changes how you see everything. Sign 6. Reality negotiation. Your feelings are always open for interpretation, never simply accepted. You say you are uncomfortable, they say you are overthinking. You say something hurt, they say you misunderstood. Nothing is allowed to exist without adjustment, without correction. Over time, you begin doubting your emotional signals before expressing them. You assume you might be wrong. You assume you might be exaggerating. When your internal signals become negotiable, their interpretation becomes reality. You stop reacting, you start calculating. And then comes the final sign. Sign 7. Strategic silence. This is the one that changes people. They do not argue, they do not confront. They withdraw at precise moments. With precise timing, you say something honest, something direct, something they cannot easily steer. And suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. Less warmth, less engagement, less presence, no accusation, no explanation, just distance. You feel it immediately, so you adjust, you clarify, you apologize, you soften, not because you were told to, because you felt the cost of not doing it. This is control without confrontation, punishment without statement. You learn which truths create distance, and which behaviors restore closeness. Over time, you begin policing yourself, filtering yourself, reducing yourself. They never had to demand it. You adapted on your own. If you recognized even 2 of these signs, this is not paranoia, it is pattern recognition. Most people stay inside these dynamics for years. They call it loyalty, patience, maturity. It is none of those things. It is control dressed as connection. You do not need a confrontation. You do not need an argument. You do not need a dramatic exit. You need awareness, distance, observation. The moment you stop over-explaining, the moment you stop volunteering energy, the moment you stop negotiating your own perception, the system loses efficiency. Not because you fought it, because you stopped feeding it. Watch the next 48 hours carefully. Notice the pauses, the questions, the subtle tests, the silence that arrives at specific moments. You have been inside this pattern longer than you realize. Now you know what to look for. Write in the comments, I see the pattern. I stop cooperating.